but I get the main point. I think Jordan Peterson like will kind of say it's like do people act better like whether or not they truly believe it, or if like if they were to just act as though there was some sort of being that was watching them
Hmm.
like 24/7, all this kind of stuff, would they act differently? And that's where you bring a lot of like the lines of like communism and all this stuff and see how like degenerate's not the right word. It's like more like genocidal or kind of
Yeah, yeah,
like
that's good.
brutal that like humanity can be. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And like that's a key point to bring out. But I think Jordan Peterson's in that kind of similar position where he's like, I've never said I'm a Christian, but
that's
I
right.
think he's at least being honest enough to say it's like, well, like Christian ethics, like what do you quote unquote disagree with in terms of Christian ethics? Because a lot of like these I think they call themselves secular humanists are like they're they're basically trying to do like harm principle and all this stuff. And it's like when you say harm principle, like what are you defining as harm?
Right.
Because giving testosterone to minors would fit my definition of harm. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you have like these bodybuilders and they can't even get any testosterone, but like these kids, yeah, let's sign them right up. It makes no sense. Like to me, that's like child abuse. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So there's a lot of kind of like ambiguous statements or kind of happy hippie feels good kind of like statements that are made in a
yeah,
lot of
that's
these
right.
things that just don't add up, you know?
Yeah, fully agree. Fully agree. Ultimately, I'm glad there's people like you out there and others. I'm just a nerdy, geeky guy who talks about programming. This starts to go out of my depth. So I'm glad that you guys are out there talking about this stuff because I agree. And I have a wife and a kid, and I myself, even if I didn't have a family, I wouldn't want to grow old in a society that operated this way. I have maybe, hopefully, I'm halfway through my life, but that's at best. 41, that's at best. I'm halfway through my life. I do not want to grow old in a society like what you're describing, without those kinds of, like, let's say, guardrails or fundamentals, I guess. So I'm glad you guys are out there doing what you're doing. I appreciate it. That's all. I just
100%.
wanted to chat with you about all that. That's yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Appreciate you stopping by and all that, and especially for the raids and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it's something that, like I said, it's since I had the debate with Jim Bob, where like he absolutely like broke me in terms of like it was the same kind of strategy that Andrew Wilson does with like the more relativists, but he done it in terms of the aspect of truth. And he was
Right.
like, but he was asking me like what appeared to be simple questions. It's like what is truth?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have a fucking answer to this. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like an idiot, you know. But like I
Yeah.
said, from there, it's like I've basically kind of say, okay, what does Plato talk about truth? What did the ancient Greeks, what did the Romans, and all this kind of shit in different aspects, and then from there, you're kind of slowly building up the core, and that's where it's like that's why I think a lot of issues come with like a lot of kind of modern day kind of scholars or whatever. Like they don't have that core; they just have that. Like you could talk like postmodernism or kind of like this whole like, oh, it's all subjective, it's all relative, it's all just about power and all this kind of stuff. Like that dynamic where it's you've lost the river now. Like Heraclitus would talk about, you can't step into the same river twice. The whole meaning here is like talking about things rationally. So if you're talking about a river that's constantly changing, constantly in motion, how can it be the same if it's constantly changing? How can something be unchanged if it's constantly changing? That's the
Yeah.
main premise of like, can you step in the same river twice? But a lot of
That's
these
right.
lefties and a lot of these like academics and quote unquote modern day philosophers are saying it's like, well, you can't even step in the same river once. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah,
technically the
that's
atoms in
right.
your foot are changing, all this kind of shit. You're like, bro, you no longer can define a river, and that's why they're basically saying we like a woman is someone who identifies as a woman. Like that's not a definition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So at the very, very least, what you're describing is what happens when you start to deny that truth even exists.
Yep.
That's before you even get to the question of what is truth, right? And
Hmm.
so you can see the results of that. That's why the question is so important. What is truth? Super important, because when you let go of that question, we see it play out before us, right?
100%. And we have William. He's paying for a clip. He wants to add a bit of comedy to it. So like I said,
Yeah.
bear with me, folks. Bear with me. I really do need to sort out these clips because they're all over the place back here. But here
Okay,
we
I
If
do
go,
I,
folks.
this. I do this. Holy fudge.
and that
Kind of
right
stinks in
there,
here. Kind of smells.
that right there is God in force. I don't, I don't know.
100%, 100%, man. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I appreciate you, William, and that extends the show by another 5 minutes as well. So we'll be gone for I think just on another hour as well.